so we've not got Jeff with us tonight, so unfortunately you've got to put up with me. Only for a brief period. Only for a brief period, I'll admit, but only you do have to put up with me for a minute. Okay, thank you guys for coming along, nice to see everybody, as always.
Can we have the joy cup, please?
No. Obviously we've got Paul doing a talk today, guys, so with the presentation and all the work he's put in. Obviously, can we try and limit the conversation as always and try and keep mobile phones to a quiet if we can? That'd be great, thank you. I don't think there's anything else to say other than thank you Paul for putting it together and presenting it, and hopefully you guys enjoy it and everyone gets to do something out of it. I'll hand you guys over to Paul and let him carry on from there. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Can you hear it at the back, all right?
Yeah, okay.
Right, this is a teaser presentation because Jeff G4 UDU was going to present one earlier in the year, and I was chatting to him. I said, I've done this as a M7, remember? Be kind. But as a foundation member, we have those privileges to use a remote station now. So let's get into it. So why do I need a remote station? Well, this is Higher Rokem, and if you look at the top left, you can just see the mast very close to GB3TR, our repeater station, our local repeater station. Just over the hill there, Torbay. Newton Abbot is that way. My remote station is just over the hill there, and my cottage, Barton Cottage, is right down in the dip in a horseshoe valley. So HF is a no-go. I've tried and tried and tried. So that's basically what it looks like. A cross section of the hill. So I've got there's no takeoff with HF here at all. I might be able to get some invis or something like that. I've tried all kinds of things, but you've got a load of Devon red sandstone with high iron content. It's going to affect the ground plane, even if it wasn't. If it was straight, it would be a pain. But
yeah.
So I have basically tried all kinds of antennas, and a lot of you kind souls that have been mentoring me will know, because we've all had conversations about it. This was the problem. My cottage is located in a conservation area. Many of the buildings, especially the ones opposite me, are listed buildings, and any big antenna arrays are just out of the question. I considered using a off-center fed vertical doublet type system with a tuner in a flagpole configuration. Then I discovered the flagpole I wanted was going to be needing to be about 9 meters, 7.5 to 9 meters long, and we have a conservation area, and it's limited to some silly number like 4 meters or something. So that was that out. I ended up with an 85-foot end-fed random wire, which is not very random, as you know. It's simply a non-resonant antenna that's tunable with a 9-to-1 unknown, and you can see it all winds around my roof, little 9-to-1 and a 17-foot counterpoise. That was working really quite well within limitations. It's a compromised area. It's a compromised antenna, but I was getting out. At least I was talking to some of the people on the local net. It was the best I had at the time, until I hope the audio works for this. How does that work? I went on the net one day, and this was happening. And I did my nut, because I posted this, and some of you might remember, on the TARS Facebook page, and everybody came back saying, who's got solar? I went, well, I've had 2 installations since I installed the antenna, and yeah, one of them had a grant from one of them had been paid a lot of money for their inverter system and all that, but one of my neighbours had a grant, and I suspect it was a cheap interference coming off a cheap inverter. So very likely that's what it was. I knew who it was because I'd done some scanning and could feel it was my next door neighbour. I'd done various tests with lots of you helping me. One of them had a big leisure battery to run my HF radio, turned off the power at the mains, so I had nothing going live in my house, couldn't get rid of it. I thought, I know, I'm fortunate to have a piece of land up the hill. Gonna have to do it. And I wasn't really ready at the time. I'd only been a foundation licensee then for about 6 months. I thought, oh, I've got to save up for a decent radio as well, because I only had a little QRP radio at the time. So the QRM from cheap inverter system, what are my options? Do I have a futile row with the neighbour because she ain't going to put a hand in the pocket? Because she got it granted to her by the local council. Hence the comment there, Eco 4. Apparently I'm eligible for it now, so I'll be creating my own QRM now. They outsourced the installation to the cheapest tender. My problem being compromised antenna, so it's no good for DX or local nets. In fact, at that time, good old GB3TR was the only station I could contact, and so I used to join the net, and that was my radio fun. A little bit like a lot of you guys that had that restriction back in the day. You can only use the UHF, so it was a little bit like going back in time. So that was my solution, to build my own remote station. And I'm like, oh heck, how am I going to do this? So I started watching YouTubes, like you do, started looking on the internet, and I thought, well, I kept coming up with the ICOM RS BA2 software. And I thought, flipping heck, I've got to buy an ICOM now, what am I going to do? I'll have to save up, that's all there is to it. And it seemed that the IC7300 was the most ubiquitous radio around. We chatted about it on the net, and I would basically drive up the hill to chat to people on the net on my HF rig. And my only problem with that is it uses 2 computers in a peer-to-peer system. I haven't got 2 spare computers. I kept seeing Raspberry Pis popping up on really home-build projects, and you had to do your own scripting, and you had to. I thought, that seems. I don't want to get into that just yet. So, ICOM proprietary software. I think it should come with the radio personally. It costs about £99 now. And of course, what people have done now is they've gone some clever bods, especially in the ham radio circles, that you can code. But I know what to do. I'll write my own script. So some clever chaps have written their own script. Web radio control being one of those that uses the Raspberry Pi and a browser control via a server. Quite like the look of it. The pros are it supports a lot of radios. Kenwoods, Elecraft, a few others like that. Con, it was commercial, it was £80 per year depending on what license you use. So if the club had wanted to commit to a remote station, it was based on how many people that you have bookable time and all that sort of stuff. Sounded quite good, but it started running up quite a bit of a bill. And I found something called Win for ICOM and its sister product, Win for Yaesu. It seems like proprietary software. So when it's proprietary, you can't try before you buy a lot of the time. So you've got to put your money down before you even know if it's any good. So I went past that one. I kept seeing references to the MFJ Rig Pi, which is a proprietary MFJ product. It's basically got a Raspberry Pi and their own proprietary software in it. But station server selling for 200 to 350 quid. Well out of my price range. I was looking to spend £700 on a rig. I didn't want any more money. And then I found Remote TX. Raspberry Pi 4, you can use a Wi-Fi router, rig, antenna, really simple application on a browser, using any mobile, laptop or tablet. Again, it's this £80 per year for the server-side support, but you get 1 month free valuation. Cha-ching. I'm having that. So I built my system around that, on that situation. More about the Rig Pi, the Remote TX later. So there are other people, especially Chrome. So if you never watched DX Commander, that's a common chap on doing the antennas. He uses Chrome remote desktop, peer-to-peer again, but it's free. So if you've got a brain that will handle that, you can crack on with it. RC Ford Client is a PC you use a PC for your own base station, and remotehams.com, Android phone client, Google Apps, drivers, but it also will do. Yeah, it looked too complicated for me, and my heart was already on this ham radio built, but sort of commercial, but it was built by a ham, so I thought I'd carry on. These other ones are worth looking at. This one's freeware, but I didn't find a lot of support on it, but it's worth a look, guys, if you wanted to have a little dabble. N4PY, I guess that is his handle, his call sign. It's an ICOM control, and it's freeware. W5KUB, Android only, actually looks quite nice. I don't use Android products, so that ruled that one out again. It's free. And free open source WFU, which I'm sure a few of you have used for different FT8 type products, can actually be used. You do need your computer skills, I'm afraid. It's mainly Linux based, even though it's got Mac and Windows. So I ruled them out, but they are worth a mention. So this is what I chose, and it was because of the pretty screen. I get all the features of my ICOM 7300 on my tablet computer, and I feel like I'm operating my radio, and that's what I wanted. I've got to get a nice radio with all the nice features, and you've got to use a really shonky software to operate. So cost effective, it's basically plug and play, and it's Marcus AK7MG who wrote the code. He set up the server, so he charges $80 I think it is, per annum, and you can pay it however you want. He is amazing. I emailed him, I don't know how many times. He was very patient. He said, I looked into your log, yeah, there's a few settings wrong. I've done my end for you, but you need to, and he gave me the instructions what to do. His website is absolutely covered with information. This is what you need when you're hungry for information, like a beginner like me. It's essential to have that support. So I'm so pleased, because if this wasn't going to work, I was going to use the other remote station software. So I'm using the ICOM 7300, as I've said about 50 times, Raspberry Pi 4, 5G router, and off-grid solar. It's a bit tricky. I have had problems with that. But the actual software setup, I actually used it, and once I figured out what he meant I needed to do, is that understanding of user error. It actually took, I was on the radio talking to Dublin within 1 hour of setup. So I'm using my iPhone. You can use Android, a laptop, tablet. It's not specific. It's basically a browser. I type in M7EXV .remotetxt.tx.com or .net, log in with my passcode, and then I get the software come up. You'll see a demonstration of that later on. So there you go, that's what I said. I just said that. Right, this is the only complicated circuit you're going to see from me. It's pictographic. So the light hits the solar panels, it goes into my lithium ferrous phosphate battery, it comes out of there 13.8, it hits a buck converter which provides power to the Raspberry Pi, and then 12 volts of 13.8 to the 5G router, which is 12 volts fortunately, and the rig. And then from the rig, obviously, a 9-to-1 Allen onto my end-fed random antenna. It's that simple. And that's about as simple as I could make it, because it literally is just plug, 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 plug. If you can set up a computer, it's the same kind of level of technology. Just plugging bits in, you can't go wrong. The only thing that I have a concern about in the weak point is the buck converter. I have heard from different people that there's actually a potential for a bit of RF, QRM coming from those, but at the moment it seems quiet. But I suspect if there's a weak link, it'll be the buck converter in terms of dropping from 12 volts down to 5 volts, which is what the Raspberry Pi needs to see. Bearing in mind, the Wi-Fi router needs to stay on, the Raspberry Pi needs to stay on, the rig can be turned off remotely by the software. Okay, so we're going to just dig in a little bit, just bounce off the surface of what I had to do to make that happen. You have to compile the SD card that goes into the Raspberry Pi, and you use their proprietary software. And that's why when you set up a free account, you give them your call sign, and then it's call sign related as to your domain name address. And they will actually sell you a Raspberry Pi ready configured, obviously, but then you've got to wait for shipping, and I wasn't prepared to do that. I could get them from Amazon anyway. So as I said before, M7EXV.remotexx.net is the domain name, and you follow the instructions for your rig, and that's the thing. His website's so good, you can actually follow the instructions for your rig. Primarily Yaesu, primarily Icon, there's a few others, but he's obviously stuck to the two big ones commonly. And there are some settings in the menu, rig settings, if you've ever used SDR radios. It's not like all knobs on the front and everything's on the front. You've got to dive into the menu. And there were some naughty words said at that point, you know. It is what it is.
Hoops you have to jump in.
Like, oh dear, and things like that. Right, so this is a little bit of spiel from Remote TX. So it's like a free advert, if you will. It pretty much covers everything I've already said. There are a lot of things that he talks about go straight over my head, but I am assured that you can use things like FT8, digital modes and stuff like that using this software. You can use CW on this software as well. Oh, President says sort of. I'll defer to you.
Look at the delay on here.
Oh, I've got you.
Yeah.
Well, well, you're 50 words per minute. Yeah, well, I imagine so, yeah. So I'm not going to cover that, it's kind of there. Remote control client is what we're using. And the subscription is tied to your call sign. That's the two bits you need to remember on that. But I thought, at due deference, I think it was quite worth a mention. And again, we're just going to quickly gloss over what's compatible devices, because a lot of these things are incompatible with other things, and it's very frustrating. You get a bit of software and you can only use it on Android because it's been coded. It's for most people that's fine, but I don't have an Android device, unfortunately.
It's a bit ancient than Windows 7, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's a bit ancient than Windows 7.
Well, it's got a little bit of backwards compatibility, which is quite good. Because it's using a browser, it doesn't need a lot of processing power. It's all done server side. And it's quick. It doesn't feel like the lag you speak of. Yeah, but on voice it's negligible. It's Windows 7, Chrome, Firefox or Edge browsers. I'm using Safari on my phone. Obviously you can use an Apple Mac either with Chrome or Safari or the Chrome OS. It doesn't seem to have support for Linux, but Chrome OS is kind of a Linux, isn't it? So I'm thinking there might be some clever people around. So again, this is a little bit more out of my league. It talks about using software such as Mumble, Skype or TeamViewer. You don't need those. Apparently other software uses those peer-to-peer network systems to operate. What I liked is you don't need a dedicated PC. So it's not necessary at the station, and it's a low cost 60 quid Raspberry Pi. They mentioned Pi 3B or 4, I got a 4. And it's got very low bandwidth, and I can attest to that. You don't even notice it feels like you're talking on the radio. So it's quite nice. I haven't used it enough, but I've got to beef up my solar. We'll come to that in a minute. Smartphones, so that's what I use. What else is there? Most of this, it seems to repeat itself a lot. Oh yeah, right. CW text key is compatible with Icon 7300 and the Elecraft K3, KX2, KX3. I haven't even looked on that page of the website, but there's lots of goodies there. FT8 and other digital modes before, and there's a guide for that as well. So I'm going to stick with it because I think there's a lot of good stuff to dive into there. So I was going to do a live demonstration, and I realised we've got quite a few hills between us, and I need a remote operator to key to and talk. I thought, no, we've done talks like that before, and it didn't go right, didn't we? So this is what I've done instead. Okay, let's try this. Radio's off, Raspberry Pi's on, the router, 5G router's switched on and running. Let's see what we can do. So you're logging in. At this point, it tells you the radio is off, so you switch the radio on. Now, I'm not tethered or anything, that's just, I'm trying to catch it all at once. You'll notice I just tuned it there. Let's get that.
M7EXV testing. M7EXV testing.
That's our friend Andy.
Roger, G8UG. I can hear you well, 5 and 9. I'm on my restricted power, and yeah, it's functional. M7EXV returning.
You can see his signal strength there on the phone.
Golf 8, uniform Golf. Yes, M7EXV here. Thank you very much for the QSO. Thanks, Andrew. 73, M7EXV out.
That wasn't set up at all, was it? That just happened like that. The magic of TV. What actually happened was, the battery was flat. I got up there, and one of my rams had got into the yard where my antenna is, and he got his flipping horns wrapped around my antenna and pulled cord out of the antenna. So what was going to be a quick fix, I had to rebuild the antenna and set up. And then I found that the battery was dead as a doornail, and even though I charged it overnight, it wasn't working for some reason. And because the Raspberry Pi doesn't like to be depleted on energy, it needs a nice steady 5 volts. It glitched. So I spent about an hour messing around, fixing things before I could get on the air to do the demonstration. So that is what it's like in real life though, isn't it? It's quite fun.
Okay, let's try this.
Oh.
Radio.
Anyway, as it says there, I'm a foundation licensed ham experience, so if I can do it, you can do it. I haven't really started to play with these features, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it can do. The digital modes excite me because that's an area I'd like to play with a bit more, but where I was in my HF dead zone at home, I couldn't do it. And if you have any questions, go to remotetext.net. Right, so these are my conclusions, and I do know I need to beef up my solar array. I've got to lay some wires because I've got an off-grid system there that works fine. But if I'm using my rig, I'm going to need more power into the batteries. The batteries can hold what I've got about 200 ampere hour batteries. That'll, from day to day, as long as the sun's shining, it will work. I've got a wind turbine, so I need to install that as well. Whether or not that creates QRM, we'll find out. But one of the things I find with my setup anyway, it works better on a silent running like a submarine really, so it's all power off and use DC only. So, a bit like the Jaws film, I'm going to need a bit of a battery bank. Or a small submarine nuclear generator. Anyway.
There's quite a few of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a bit big to put on my trailer though, that's it. But thanks for listening guys. I said it would be a quick one.
No,
Can I ask a couple of
questions? Yeah.
So you mentioned you looked at web radio control, which I've actually used, it works pretty well.
Yeah.
But that was also 50 quid. Is this £50 a year or what?
They're both 80.
Oh, 80.
And I'll tell you what it was.
Yeah.
When I compared, it was a head to head on those two. That was all it was in the end.
Okay.
I first found radio control, thought, oh, that's gorgeous, I love it.
Yeah.
And then I found this guy. But once I found his website, I was like, oh, hands down, he's offering more information.
Okay.
And as we're licensed ham operators, and our whole precept of being radio operators is to learn the radio craft.
Right, okay.
I thought I'm going that way because he's got more support. But I was originally just going to go gung-ho onto radio control because I think they're using a very similar back end.
Because there's a club up in the home counties, Luton Way, they've actually got a log cabin because they all live, they've got so much QRM and all the rest of it. They've actually got this log cabin, they put their plug shack there. I don't even know if this is legal these days, I think it probably is, but they're using web radio control, and I've had to play with it, and it is fantastic.
Yeah.
But they've got no interference sources at all, they've got a great big beam up and stuff like that. I found that software quite friendly. It's fat.
Yeah, it was in the end, it was like, which way do we want to go?
Yeah.
They both offer very similar things. They both offer a month's trial run.
Right.
When it came down to it, it was just, there was a greater amount of information on the WSJT-X website for the purposes of learning and getting into other things. I can imagine that web control would be quite good if you were already quite experienced.
Yeah.
It would actually be easier for you.
Do they give you a pre-configured SD card, something like that at all?
No, what happens is they've got an NI file or something like an information file. They say, right, open this, type this in, and then save that, and then put that on your, because they've got proprietary image that you download.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you load that onto the SD
Right,
card,
yeah.
and then you just open your file explorer and drop this file in where they say to drop it in, and then when you boot it up, it recognises the information, uses that as your login, and that's how, it's that simple.
And what battery are you using? Is it lead acid or
Well,
lithium?
Because I've got a solar array at my workshop,
Right.
and I've got lithium ferrous phosphate batteries. They're not physically connected to my rig at the moment because I've got to dig a trench and put some wires in and all that. So what I was using was a lead acid leisure battery. The trouble is, using it 24/7, without solar support, it would die within 48 hours because it's just on all the time.
Yeah.
It keeps the I can't think of the word. Eh?
Router.
The router, that's it, yeah. The 4G router, which is just a TP-Link router with a little EE all-you-can-eat video card in it, you know. That cost me £20 a month. But I use that at the land when I'm there anyway for all sorts of things. So that was pretty much, it was so foundation level, it was really easy to do. The hardest bit was putting the aerial up, and that wasn't that hard.
What footage you have on you 7300?
Oh, if you looked on the screen, I can play that back to you. You can actually see
The meter?
I am.
Okay, let's try this. Radio's off, Raspberry Pi's on. The router,
That's been
5G
used there.
router's switched on and running. Let's see what we can do.
Right, so at this point, you connect in there to the icon, and that's, I've already logged in at this point. I've skipped a step just to make it a little bit more continuous for you guys. Then you see it's checking for the radio. It says the status is off. We know that. You then press that button, it turns on, and then as soon as you can't quite see it, right, we'll get there. You can actually set, and I've already preset it. Right, I paused it there. RF power, 25 watts. So I can adjust the power according to my license conditions. So obviously, most of you guys in the room will use 100 watts straight away. But I was studious to make, because I knew I was publishing this, I didn't want to break my license conditions.
That's to the aerial, you know, you can turn it up a bit.
Yeah, it's relatively efficient. It tunes quite well.
I mean, the amount of power will make difference to what you're draining off your solar, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, if you're running the watts, I wouldn't think you would
Yeah.
right on.
yeah. When I'm talking to Andrew, he's banging me 100 watts, and it's S9.
Yeah.
So that bit extra power would help a great deal. So there's a motivation to get me to 0, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Andrew, I take it is near to you because you're probably on ground wave. You weren't
We weren't on ground wave. We're on the same hill. He's down by Sainsbury's,
yeah,
and I'm on the wrong side of the hill.
No, that's still ground wave.
still ground.
It
It still
will hug it.
will it
Oh,
still
yeah,
carry?
ground.
It will hug it.
Yeah. Okay.
It won't be skywave, not on
No. Right. Apologies. Yes, it's not. We're not using skip to get there. No.
No.
14 metres up.
The interference you get with the solar panels, trust me, I know, because I'm fighting it. When you put the solar MPPT controller in to take the power from the panels, to put into the battery, a lot of the interference is actually not from the MPPT inverter. It's actually radiated back out on the wires to the solar panels.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't suppress that, because you wouldn't.
Yeah.
So if you put 2 chokes between the solar panels and the inverter, or the
Over the
MPPT,
power lines.
yeah, coming in,
Yeah.
so from the solar right at the equipment, you'll massively reduce the interference.
So you mean like an FT240, 40?
Yeah, chokes,
And
or
just-
you can actually buy from RS Components if you want.
And the
And
snap
I'm
on.
doing this kind of at 10 kilowatts. You can buy a unit which will really do it, which is over the top, but if you just wound some inductors and maybe put a couple of capacitors in, it would reduce it. And if you think about it, if the actual MPPT is radiating, just put it in a metal box.
Yeah.
Then it can't radiate. The only thing that can radiate is the wires coming in and out. But I found it's the wires to the solar. It's a known problem. In the daytime, when at the moment it's great because I get free electricity, but it's not great if I want to go on 40 meters because
No.
it's worse than that.
Yeah.
But if you put the chokes in, it massively reduces it.
Yeah. Oh,
So
Good to know.
and you need to use a lithium battery, otherwise it would just take too long to recharge the
Yeah.
acid in the daytime.
that's my next step. It's about from here to Jake. I've got to dig a trench.
Oh right, oh, you'd be
So,
okay. Yeah.
We're not looking at much voltage loss, so I
No.
might as well just do it.
No.
Get on with it. Get the shovel out and do it.
Yeah, well, it's just a piece of buried cable.
Yeah, it's a bit of conduit. Yeah.
Yeah, do that, and then it will charge it up quickly.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, plus the fact lead acid, you can't take it below 50%, or
That's
you'll
right.
start to damage the battery.
But I've already gone through a battery on that basis.
Yeah, I went through two batteries a long time ago.
Yeah.
The same thing.
Yeah.
And the lithium batteries are very cheap now.
Yeah.
The other question I've got, if I may, this is great. What happens if you started transmitting and then the link goes? Let's say, the cell tower goes.
Okay.
And you've left the rig in transmit. Does the software handle that?
It shuts the radio down straight away.
It does. So
Yeah.
if the link goes, it
Yeah.
says all bets are
Done.
off. That's nice.
I haven't got it on this, but I did while I was making the video. Something happened. There was a glitch on the software, and exactly that happened. The radio shut down immediately,
Good
and
to
that's
know.
controlled by the Pi.
Yeah.
So
So if the link goes,
yeah,
it's off.
it's
Because there's
instant.
no point being on
No,
because the link's gone.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that is one of the built-in safety features. That was one of the things that I liked about it as well.
Can you see your piece of land from your house or not?
No, it's not a line of sight.
Oh, that's a shame. You could have had a 5 gig, connection
Yeah,
between the two.
yeah. It's just the other side of the hill,
Oh, okay.
but it's the right side for getting out to people this way.
It's great.
So from my land I can see Haytor and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
You've obviously got a secure location on your land because you've got.
at the moment I'm basing it on it's reasonably secure.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
basically hidden in plain sight. I can't have a massive antenna farm advertising the fact. So
Yeah, I mean, you've got a lovely field to put an antenna up.
yeah,
Put an antenna up, people say, well, I wonder what's on the end of that.
yeah, we're going to go.
Just put a notice saying it's government, MOD or something, and
GCHQ.
they'll keep away. GCHQ, yeah.
Yeah.
That'll keep them away.
But if you look at, this still is quite useful. You can see signal, power, and that one there's SWR, so I can even see what the SWR is on the rig. So it's really quite reassuring, I find.
And you say that what is the power?
Sorry?
What power did you say running in the icon?
Well, I'm using my license condition, so it's 25 watts.
25, isn't it? Yeah.
So on this bar, bearing in mind this is all on my screen and you can just touch it with your hand, you can take that bar up to 100 watts. So it's instant. You can, if I had a 2E0 sat next to me, you wanted to take over, he can crank it up to 100 watts.
Yeah, but you're only talking of one S1.
I know, but it's
When the band is
significant.
open, it's hard.
Oh yeah, well, if you're doing DX, I don't think it will really make massive amounts of difference.
If you put the lead acid in, the voltage will drop too much. Icons are particularly sensitive of not wanting to produce much power below 13.8.
I've also found that one out.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, if you put a lithium in, again, the voltage will be higher.
Yeah.
So it's a must, but you know, if you don't, it also starts to go a bit horrible in terms of the signal.
One of the projects I've got is a mini wall using 1860 650 lithium cells
Oh, yeah.
out of loads of Makita batteries where only one cell dies.
Yeah.
I've bought loads of them,
All right.
and so I've got a charging setup, and you can like put them into a rack
Yeah.
with a BMS on the top. That's my next project. I just couldn't get it all done
No.
before this talk happened. That'll be part 2 maybe, I don't know. But no, that'll be solar, off-grid solar power.
It's cheaper than moving house, isn't it?
Oh yeah. But my friend over there, Jake, he was telling me about his submarine batteries, which are about this tall, you know, or other fork truck or submarine, I'm not sure which, and you can,
Submarine batteries.
they're like 2 volts per cell, and you put
About
60.
3 foot tall.
Yeah, and you can really get some, I mean, all right, it's still lead acid, but it's got 50% of those capacity is enough for a little radio.
What they have at
Well, you can
broadcast
drive, you can
stations.
drive
in
a
fact.
5,000 ton submarine on those.
Yeah,
Why?
so,
Why?
you know,
The trouble is they'll
Thinking.
sink down through the hill.
yeah, well you can't park, you've got to put them on wood to start with, because
Yeah.
you can't have any batteries on concrete, because you end up, it'll just drain the batteries when the temperature drops.
Have you considered a commercial vertical, you know, really good?
You mean like something like the DX10 or the DX Commander type of vertical?
Well, that's one way of doing it, yeah.
I'm working on it,
Even a loaded vertical.
like a screwdriver or something, yeah. At the moment, that antenna kind of works enough.
You're going to work anything that you want to do with a good vertical, a good ground system.
Yeah,
With 20 watts, you know, no problem.
yeah,
Use a good vertical antenna. I've used one for a few years until it blew down. Was the iPro Home, which will get you out from 14 megs. It will also go down to 10 and 7 and 80, but it will get you all the way up to 6 meters, and it's only 15 foot long.
oh that's good.
And you
That
don't
must be
need-
loaded then, is it?
Its capacity end is
Oh, right.
loaded, but it's got a phone in the middle. You feed it, it's a midpoint feed.
Right.
It's fed at the midpoint, and you can just stand it on you know, it only needs to be about 4 or 5 feet off the ground.
Yeah,
And it will work, as long as it's got a clear sky.
yeah. Well, I've got places I can can I hang that sort of thing out of a tree? Because that's what I was planning on doing.
No, it's a fixed, stick it on a pole.
Oh yeah,
Just stick it on a pole in the ground. You need to stay it. But,
Yeah.
I had one. I say I've been using one for about 6 years, and they're about 250 quid.
yeah. I was ready made and it's instant.
Yeah, you plug it in, and well, I mean, I've gone as far as VK on it, so
Perfect.
You could put up an inverted L end fed
Yeah.
in a half wave, and then
Yeah.
that's up onto a tree.
I'll
It's
tell you
really
what.
simple.
I'll tell you what I was thinking, because where this is located, the shack is, it's a little lower than the peak of the hill. I was thinking of putting a grounded mast up with an inverted L back, but you've got to get it. It's got to be right. But yeah, and
Easy to do though with an unarm, and
yeah,
then it'll match everywhere.
yeah.
At that power, it's fine. I wouldn't do it at QRO, but you can't run QRO anyway, so
No.
it's all right at 25 watts.
So there's options. It's just, but that's the joy of ham radio.
When
is
you got
the
space,
it's the
which you
learning
have.
process, isn't it?
could you put up, say, 140 feet of wire?
Yeah, we were having this conversation.
I've just bought an end feed, a half wave,
Yeah.
and it's the only band I can't get out on is 5 megs.
Oh, that's not bad.
And mine is I've got about 120 to 130 feet of it up, and the end sort of 10 foot is dangling down, which is it's cut.
Is that the counterpoise, is it?
No, it's just hanging
Oh,
there.
right.
I'm feeding it on the top of a 20-foot pole.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So the Ballon, 49-1 transformer is up there,
Oh, I see.
20 foot high, and I'm 3 minutes down the garden.
And you're sloping it back.
Sloping back goes
Yeah.
over the roof.
Yeah.
I've got to keep it low because of the neighbours.
Yeah, it's the same thing. We all have the same problem, isn't it?
When you look at the SWR, it's every band all the way up to 10 metres.
I can't remember the name of the software, but I was round Andrews earlier today, unsurprisingly, and we were talking about there's a variant on the G5R, and I can't remember. It's somebody else's call sign, and it's just a slightly enhanced version of that, and you can get all the bands.
ZS6.
That's the
DKW.
one. That's the one. Yeah.
G
ZX6.
0 OSF, I think is
Yeah.
is UK called.
Yeah.
ZS6.
But
DKW.
on that, I can't remember the name of the software. It begins with E and ends with Z.
Easy name, is it?
No,
Isn't it?
ESNet. Yeah, the one that the modelling software.
Yeah, easy.
They're all coming down perfectly like that. All the bands, even some bands we're not allowed to use, and it's really good. And it's not even using all of the field, but I can run it alongside the hedgerow, so nobody can actually see it.
That's the thing to do.
And it'll
The
be,
only
that's
thing is
basically
higher
a
bands,
double.
it'll be
You've
directional.
got lots of options there.
Yeah.
Lots of options.
That's why we're having a field day, guys. You're welcome to come. There'll be. I will have to supply some beer because some people will be camping. We'll do burgers and stuff like that if it's a fine day. There's plenty of room up there. You've got trees to sling stuff in, and there's power if you must use my battery power. But yeah, I mean, eventually what I want to do is have a dedicated antenna up there, so anybody who's elderly, infirm, or in a wheelchair can just go straight into the workshop and have a rig to play with, while everybody else is on the wider fields doing their own do. Yeah. But that's coming up. We've got a field day and it's on the calendar, guys, and you're welcome to come. It's open invitation to club members. So you'll be able to play up there as well. It's quite a good location. I have to
So
say,
what you need is to get your intermediate now.
yeah, that's it. I was over the table. Come on, Andrew.
Like I say, you don't need the plot.
How close do you have AC mains actually running to the house?
This is not a house. This is in a field. I've got workshops is up there as well.
Where's the nearest AC mains cable then?
Oh right, okay. So about 4 years ago, my neighbour moved up.
Sorry?
I'll come to you.
Yeah.
About 4 years ago, my neighbour came, moved into a cabin up there.
Yeah.
She paid 14 grand to get a single phase up to there. And I said, while you're doing it, I'll pay half. And the bloke came and did the measurements. He said, the voltage drop is, you're going to be able to light a candle with it. That's bad. You don't be using it. You saw, you looked in my workshop, and I was running a generator and solar to run my three-phase stuff. He said, forget that. So I said, I'm not paying 7 grand to just basically light a 100-watt light bulb.
So there's a lot of money flying around.
I'm all done. I'm all done. We just have chats now.
But it would be all right if they used some decent conductor size
Yeah, I
to
know.
get the power to where it's got to go to.
I know.
Because I've got a problem with where we've moved to.
Yeah.
We've only got a 25mm conductor from a
Is it
transformer
aluminium?
pole all the way into the house. And if I extend out to the workshop, I should have less than 200 volts.
Yeah.
We
Is
won't
it-
run any decent motors at all. So,
Yeah, is it aluminium?
sorry?
Is the core, is it aluminium?
No, I don't know.
Because
I
they put a
haven't-
single core in, don't they, and do the neutron earth locally?
Yeah, these, there's a name for it. Yeah.
Can't remember.
Yeah, it'll come to me in a moment, so pause a little bit.
PME.
PME, yeah. It's been that long ago, I don't do it anymore. Yeah. Used to do all that once. Anyway, guys, that's me done. So
Thank you very much indeed.
don't forget, guys, that HF field day I could give you details where that is. That's the same land anyway. We'll have a nice little get together. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that.